when I look at my life, I see exactly the same thing. All these things happening, people coming into my life, experiences happening, bad things happening to me to get me to come here, to be here. Hello, you little gorgeous stalwarts and lady stalwarts. I do hope that you're very well. Today I'm going to do something completely different to the normal. I'm going to share with you the books that changed my life. And I'm going to offer you them and a little overview of what the book's about. Maybe some of them you've read, maybe some of them you haven't. But I'll share them anyway. And I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So when I was a child, I used to speak as a child. No, when I was a child, I was a bookworm. And at the time, that's all that we had. We had books or play outside in the mud. And so I was a bookworm, and I read and I read and I read. And I went through a stage of only reading horror books. I read Stephen King, all of his books. And then I discovered that he was a bit weird. So I don't read I don't read horror books at all now. I'm not interested at all. I don't know why I was interested in horror stories. But then when I got into my 20s, later 20s, I got the bug. I got the bug for self-help. So I started to read self-help books. And it was all about business and, things like that. And I loved them. And I was interested in the hypnosis. I wanted to learn to read palms. I wanted to learn to read handwriting, which I did, all of that. And I just devoured books. But there were certain books that stood out, books that I still remember, that after I'd read it, I felt like I was a different person. So I want to share some of these books with you. The first book is a book by Dolores Cannon. Now, I've read a lot of Dolores Cannon's books, but this one was the one that did it for me. It's called Between Death and Life. This book was, I think, one of the very first, if not the first, from Dolores Cannon. And it's kind of like weird to say, but it was the book that was the least weirdest. Because as Dolores went on, the books seemed to get a bit weirder, and I was less taken by them. But this first one just answered so many questions that I had about everything, about the afterlife and where we go to and why, etc. Fascinating book. I really loved it, and I use that book many times as a reference in my head as I'm working through things. She also gave me lots of ideas for my hypnosis as well, because Dolores Cannon used a lot of hypnosis. So that book, if you haven't read it, I would recommend that you read it. It might be a bit dated now. Many of the things are already talked about, but it's a whopper. Book number 2 is probably my favourite out of all of them, and that is called Awareness by Anthony de Mello. Now, I love all of the work of Anthony de Mello. He was probably one of the wisest men in the 20th century, I believe. The book Awareness is a tough read. It's not easy. Why? Because it makes you look at you. You're not allowed to look at other people. It isn't a book where you go, yeah, it's all of them bastards. No, it's, oh, this is me, and this is what I do, and this is how I am, and this is what I need to change. It's a remarkable book. I've read it now maybe 6-7 times. Every time I read it, I learn something new. I see a different aspect. He was such a wise man. So that one definitely I recommend. The next book is called No Chance Encounter. I read this a long time ago. In fact, it was given to me by somebody, and they said, read that book, you'll like it. It's a very thin book, and it's about all of the people that we meet. No matter what they are, they're there to teach us something. And it changed me because it made me realize that life is a mirror. It's that concept of everything that comes, that you see, is reflecting back about you. You like it, you don't like it. It's saying not about the person, it's talking about you. So that's a really nice little book, very easy to read, and it just gives you example after example of all the situations and what it means about you. Nice one. The next book is probably the most beautiful fiction book I've read, and I've read it a few times now, and it's called The Alchemist. and it's by Paulo Coelho. The Alchemist is the story of the hero's journey. That's it. But it's written in, he's a beautiful writer, and it's written in such an engaging way that you're with him on this journey, and it's just the hero's journey, leaving comfort, leaving what you know, and going out to have an adventure, having to lose everything, leaving behind potential love and going off, and having adventure and learning new skills and fighting the monsters, finding love, finding treasure, and coming home. And it's the quintessential story of us, of who we are. When you understand the hero's journey, then, and you look at your life, then you see it. You look at any good film, you see it. You read any novel, you see it. You look at anything that's happening in the world, and you see it. The hero's journey is everywhere. Definitely a book that I would recommend. I listened to it last time on audio. It was beautiful. This next one, I'm sorry, I've got to put 2 Anthony de Mello. I was going to put 3, but I thought that would be too much. Get all of Anthony de Mello's books. Rediscovering Life. This book was absolutely beautiful. It was very empowering. And again, Anthony de Mello doesn't let you look at other people. He makes you look at yourself and about attachments. And this book is all about how to be aware of the attachments that you've got, how to let them go, and how to understand that those attachments are not serving you. Now, Anthony de Mello was the expert. You know, he was the Buddha. And often I think, well, I don't think I could be like Anthony de Mello on that level. But in certain ways, you can be. And in many ways, his books helped me to understand, to be able to let go of unnecessary attachments. I believe that in this world we have come here to have attachments. Of course, we're attached to this life. But there are some attachments that really do not serve us, and they hinder us. They hinder our progress. That book is going to help you to identify them and let them go. This book, I read this so long ago, right at the beginning of my spiritual journey, The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. Fantastic book. The film was a bit of a letdown because once you've read the book, you can't watch a film. But the book is fantastic. I recall my sister, I give it to my sister to read after I read it. I said, you've got to read this book. And she thought it was real. She thought it was a real book, a real story. You know, it's written so beautifully and it makes absolute sense. And it's the story of awakening. And what I took from that book was about the fact that there is no such thing as a coincidence. You know, and all of these things happen and when I look at my life, I see exactly the same thing. All these things happening, people coming into my life, experiences happening, bad things happening to me to get me to come here, to be here. And so The Celestine Prophecy is just such a beautiful book to read. It's a great engaging story. It's gripping, but it also teaches you, you know, it's got all of the I can't remember what they're called now, but the insights, I think they're called insights. Very nice, very beautiful book. And then the last 2 books are by the same author. Book number 1 is Do It. Let's Get Off Our Butts. Okay? And it's by Peter McWilliams and John Roger. However, this book is no longer available in normal bookstores. You've got to get it as a second-hand book. But boy, if you are looking to find motivation in your life, if you're looking to get your life going, that is the book. I absolutely loved it. It's a book that's written, and on every other page there's a little quote, a little expression. And I learned as much from the expressions as I did from the book, but the book is fantastic. Understanding why we do things, why we don't do things, you know, what motivates us and what doesn't. It's a fantastic book, very dynamic, written in such a humoristic way. It's lovely. It's a lovely read. I loved it, and I've still got it, and I read it every now and again, or I flip it open and I read a little bit. It's beautiful. Another book by them is called You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought. And this book is written for people who are around people who are ill or people who are ill. And it's designed to help you to understand how you've got to reframe your thoughts when you're going through any kind of suffering. and that you can't afford the luxury of a negative thought. It's really well researched, and these are books that were written in the 80s. They were the best sellers at the time. I'm not sure. I think that one's still available in bookstores, but both of them are absolutely fantastic. In fact, any books by those authors are great if you can get them. So that's the list of books, and I've probably missed out so many of really good books. That's the list of books that I loved. What I'd like now is in the comments, if you will, apart from the ones that I've given, any other books that changed your life. Don't just be what was a nice read. It's this book changed who I was as a person. Let's share some of our best books, and then we can start reading them and changing ourselves as persons. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.